Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to today's program. We've got a great show for you, but before we get into that, I want to let you know we are announcing our next webinar. Pick the bit your mule will pack. That's right. For the first time in, I think it's at least 2 years, it might be 3 years, we are doing a free clinic all about putting together a bit program that is ideal for your mule or your donkey, and it's one that you don't want to miss. All of the details are going to be in the description, so click that, get signed up. It's going to be a lot of fun, and there's an opportunity when you register to put in your question about your bit program, about your mule, about your donkey. So be sure to include that, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that as many questions as possible are answered during this event. So get signed up, pick the bit your mule will pack. You can skip the fighting, skip the frustration, get right to a willing partnership. I'm excited about this. It's at the end of October, and I really hope that you'll be there. Without any further delay, that's what I'm trying to say. Here's today's program. We'll talk to you soon. My name's Dave. Again, this is Steve, and this hour is all about you. We're talking mules, we're talking donkeys, and we're doing everything we can to help you get out there, gain the trust of your animal, get results when you train, so that you can enjoy what it is to be a mule or a donkey owner. And for this program, there's really only 3 things we ask. The first thing that we ask is that you share your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather is like today. We just want to know you. We want to say hello to you. We want to acknowledge you by name and just get a little bit of an idea of what life is like in your neck of the woods. That's the first thing. The second thing we ask is that you share any and every mule or donkey question that you got. And there's 2 reasons for that. Number one, like I said, we want you to enjoy what it is to own a mule or a donkey. But the second thing is there are folks that go back and watch these replays, and there's going to be a collection that have the exact same question y'all have. And so if you ask it now, not only will you get the answer, but they're going to get the answer in the future as well. And we know you're all about paying it forward, and that's why we do this program here, so Steve can take everything he's learned from all the cowboys that invested in him and all the things that he has succeeded with and failed at and tried again and then succeeded with, that you can learn those things and you can pass them along to your loved ones, to your family members, to your friends who get into the mule and donkey ownership lifestyle. And then the third thing is that you share the broadcast. That's the last thing we ask. You share the broadcast with friends and family. It's real easy to do. Just click the like buttons, click the subscribe buttons, and tag friends or family members in the comment section. Now, the first thing that I want to do before we get off is I want to get to a question right off the bat. Steve, this question, they didn't put their name, but the question is, how do the personalities of mules and hinnies differ from donkeys and horses?
Well, donkeys and horses, we're talking night and day when it comes down to thinking things through and stuff. Donkeys, they pretty much, their flight and fright is minimal. It's more fight when it comes down to flight. They're very good at stock protection. Donkeys are used a lot for protecting sheep and cattle and this sort of thing from coyotes. They'll attack a coyote, mountain lion, whatever. Pretty incredible. Where the horse has to almost be attacked in order to fight off the coyote, but the donkey will actually know they're there and hunt them up and run them off. Now, when it comes to mules and hinnies are they're basically 3 in 1. You take the donkey, has to be the father when you're looking at a regular mule, and the mother be the horse, and then you have the third part, the mule. Now, by having those 3, you've got to understand when you're training on a mule, you've got to understand the mind of a donkey, and a lot of times people think, well, he's stupid, he's not getting it. Matter of fact, the Mexican use the word burro, when you want to call somebody stupid, they call him burro, but basically the donkey really understands what's going on. They'll show you as they go along, but you show them in steps. You can't push a donkey through because they're very mindful of being hurt. Just that's why a mule is so good. They're very mindful about being hurt. And but a horse, I can push them through. I can buffalo them through. I can put the wrong bits. I can overspur them, things like that, and they will start showing pain pretty quick. Where a mule and donkey will brace into the pressure of the pain. When a horse is colicky, he will kick it himself. He will lay down and roll and will show all kinds of ways that he's uncomfortable. A mule or a donkey will brace into it. You'll see them not really wanting to eat, but they'll brace and be quiet and kind of over in the corner sometimes, and their head way down low. So they don't show pain and pressure like horses do either. So that's just a good general view of it. When it comes down to mules, don't ever offer me a green mule and a well-broke horse. I'll take a green mule any day, just on his natural way of understanding how to stay alive and how to get up and down the trails.
I appreciate that. That's a great question. I want to say hello to Sherman Johnson, Norman, Oklahoma, 101 degrees. Rory is watching from Southwest Ohio. Hotter than a $2 pistol. Oh my gosh, that is hot if I've ever heard. Polly from Barnesville, Minnesota, 73 and beautiful. Steve, have you ever driven a mule with one blind eye? Any advice on whether to put the blind eye on the outside so she can see her partner, or put the blind eye on the inside? Just had one of my team mules lose sight in one eye.
Yeah, well, that's difficult, but I can tell you it's amazing how they get around it. Ridden blind mules with one eye and packed them and driven them, yes. And it really makes no difference if you put them on the off side or the near side. But the best thing I can tell you how I would start with it, number one, when it comes down to harnessing, I don't like to use blinders. I want my mules to see a full 360 all the way around. Blinders, the main purpose of them is to focus straight ahead of what's going on, not paying attention to what's going on right, left, or behind them. Matter of fact, mule blinders are actually called pigeon wing blinders, where they go up over top of the eyes so that they can't see above them, like in stagecoaches and this sort of thing. So I would strongly suggest that you drive the mules, the one blind one without blinders, and drive them together dry. In other words, no wagon. Hook them up like you always do. Do it with the blind eye in or out, whatever is good for you. So near side, off side, and start doing it from the ground up so that the mule has an idea. That's what I would do as far as a team goes. The way I would personally start it out is I would start the mule out single, go ahead and hook him up into a surcingle, bridle him up with the snaffle bit, because that's going to be your training bit. And I would drive the mule single to start with. And as you're driving the mule single, he's going good, go ahead and hook up his partner. And if he's used to being his partner, they play off of one another. So then hook him up to the partner, and again, driving dry, walking behind them. You can also drop the heel chains and kind of make a little bit of noise and let them hear and see that, and just some different things, and just make sure you have full control of the animals. Now, if these animals are pretty good driving animals, you probably have them in what's called a Liverpool bit, okay? Now, a Liverpool bit is fine when you're driving finished mules that work together well. But now we have a mule with a lost eye, so I would go into a snaffle bit. My mule rider's martingale is my favorite one to do foundational training, but then go into a full cheek double twisted wire snaffle bit so that you now have control. Because now remember, your Liverpool bit is not a training bit. It is for finished work. Can you do some training with it? Yes. But using the double twisted wire full cheek on both animals, should you need to correct, you can do that. Now, let's keep on looking at another thing. And I know I've given you a lot to think about here. The neat thing about these recordings, you can replay them. But going back now, If I have gone and driven my mule single and I hooked him up double, I may want to have me a second person that is capable of driving, being able to drive one or the other with another set of lines. So you've got your team hooked up as normal, okay? Uh, but if you feel that your off mule that is got both eyes is creating you a problem, you can hook up your set of lines and you can correct the problems with your double twisted wire snaffle bit. If the mule that is blinded is creating some problems, again, your second driver will have the opportunities to correct the problem. And by doing this, you're not harming the thoughts of the other animal. Because the downside of driving two together is that when I pick up on a rein or a line, I communicate to both sides of the face on both animals. When I have a separate set of lines, I then can correct my problem more succinctly. So hopefully that'll make sense to you. And if you got any questions, you can always call me and let me help you out. And let us know how you do. We had I've been around a lot of blind animals, and it's really unique how they can get around and do things.
Steve, I got a follow-up question. A while back, we talked about the idea of training a mule to ride and pack. And so ride, drive, pack, whatever. The idea is, can you train a mule to do both of them? Should you have them do separate things? What are your thoughts? There's been some comments that came in for that particular question, just saying, hey, train them to do everything. Make sure that they're prepared for anything. Do you have any thoughts or anything else you want to share about the idea of training both of the mules to ride or pack?
All right. So one of the wonderful things about this very versatile animal is that you just about give them any kind of a job and they'll figure it out and get it done, and building a foundation to get it done. Every single mule that I trained, everyone, I trained them to ride, to drive, and to pack. The great thing about packing and driving was it started building them up physically. And then they got used to having, for instance, packing. They got used to having pack that's on their back. They got used to having all kinds of things rattling. They got used to being in a line with other animals and going up the trail. When with a wagon, they got used to all kinds of noises. Now, I'm not telling you that this completely benefits them to where they'll never have a problem with noises or or pack outfits and this sort of thing. There's no such thing as desensitizing. You've heard me say, because they cannot remember every single thing you quote teach them, but they can do the foundational things. So the mule is very capable because they brace into pulling, they brace into packing. They can hold a pack outfit really nice when it's going down the trail. And then when it comes down to the riding aspects, they already have learned how to go with other animals. They've learned how to in packing. They've gone into driving, so they're used to handling bits and this sort of thing. And then they're used to pulling. So then by doing that, when I want to start using them to drag some wood to the fire or to pull a calf, they're already used to having that pressure and know how to dig in. So, and then the riding aspects comes pretty easy once you've packed them and you've rode them for about, and you packed them and driven them for about 4 to 6 months. They become just phenomenal when it comes down to pretty much anything you want to do. Now, the military used to take and bale the tails. So they had a long tail, and then they would trim 3 bales on the tail. So in the dark, the military would go out and would feel the tail, and they could see that the mule rode, drove, and packed, so they can do anything they want to do. Or from the corral outside, they would have a guy that would go in with a rope, and he would rope off the different ones, and they'd say, "Hey, I need a driving animal. And so they could see that it had two bales, driving and packing animal. Hey, I need one that can ride. They can look at the bales and see there's three bales. They know they can ride. So absolutely, from beginning of time, mules have always been taught properly by riding and driving and packing. If you want a mule to be all around, which you should be getting if you pay for it, is you should be getting a mule that rides, drives, and packs.
All right, next question here. I've heard it hundreds of times, and they didn't leave their name. I've heard it hundreds of times that training a mule is different than a horse. I do trust mule owners entirely as I've never owned one. However, we're big backcountry riders, and obviously mules are something we're seriously considering moving into for pack and ride mounts. That said, is there an explanation or a book or YouTube channel that anyone would recommend to help me explain the difference? Now, obviously, we'd recommend this station, this channel, but Steve, is there anything that you would say to our friend here who is considering the mule for some of this backcountry packing and riding mounting?
Well, if we just look at, for instance, the Grand Canyon, there's no horses there. It's all mules. The consistency of the mule is proven right there at the Grand Canyon. Okay. The consistency of the mule is proven at Yosemite, is proven at Yellowstone. That's where mules are used. Now, another thing too is with me. I've pretty much used mules for on my ranch for working cattle, and time again because of the consistency of the mule. Now, in order to have the consistency of the mule, the rider's got to be consistent. Okay, when it comes down to getting out there and actually working with the mules. Now, you can be an outfit like Yosemite or like Yellowstone or even like the Grand Canyon, to where now you can see consistency because you see these mules go up and down that trail every day and hardly bobble, hardly make a mess. And when it comes down to it, the consistency of the mule is proven right there at the canyon. Horses just can't meet it.
When my uncle recently donated a white mule to the area where I live, and he says I could maybe learn to ride with it. I have no experience in this, so would a mule be a good way to learn to ride? If so, I think it might be a good way to get around town, considering I can't drive. What would you say to our friend here about riding a mule even though he's got no experience?
Well, if you I'm not going to tell you climb on the mule and go right off, because you got to know how to communicate with the mule. That's imperative. Just climbing on him and expecting him to make it to town or go up the trail or go do something. No, he has to have a leader. Okay. And that leader makes him comfortable and uncomfortable. That leader shows him asking, telling, demanding. So you have to be able to communicate to the mule those five communication tools: asking, telling, demanding. So you'd be using your legs and your seat and your hands. You'd be making them comfortable and uncomfortable. So if they don't want to go forward, you got to know how to make them uncomfortable to make them go forward, because they don't always want to go where you want to go. So yeah, it'd be an experience. Matter of fact, I have as my guest today would be very much in this same place, because he originally tried to and succeeded in a lot of ways to be able to get a mule to go do things, and we'll talk about that shortly.
Myra, glad we were able to get together today. It's summer heat seems to be settling in for others as well as here in California. Jack says, Mio, Michigan is Robert's new home. I joined when I talked to him on the phone. He was a real cowboy. There you go. Cassia's watching from Queensland, Australia. Here we go. International. My two Moses mules are nearly 2 years old now and coming along. I have lightweight jogger I can run with sometimes. Would it be detrimental to start them in that soon? So Cassia is one of our friends from Australia, where David Scholl and Di Scholl down there have created a breeding program after searching the entire globe for for a donkey. They found Moses. They brought him into Australia, and David has gone from worm farming to being the biggest, strongest voice for mules and donkeys, as far as I know, in Australia, and only in a matter of, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years. So that's the history here. Steve might be able to correct if I got a detail wrong, but that's the history. So when she says Moses mules, that's what she's talking about. Okay, I have a lightweight jogger I can run with sometimes. Would it be detrimental to start them in that jogging soon? There we go. We can see you.
Yeah, you got me. All right. I was moving wires. It probably didn't make any difference, but there we go. Yeah. So
All right.
Dave Scholl it's amazing where he has come from. He actually come here to the States twice and to learn and this sort of thing and to learn what to do and what not to do, as he's told me. But it's amazing now. He is the number one breeder and actually even trainer of mules there in Australia in about less than 5 years. You're exactly correct. And of course his little wife is right there with him, and they're training away, and they're doing amazing. They've really hit off some. They've been in some unique places and now have created new places to go to. It's great what he's been able to do.
So, what about Cassia's question about these nearly 2-year-old mules? She has a lightweight jogger that she can run with someone in it. Would it be detrimental to start having them in that soon?
I don't see why not. The big thing what we have to consider is that how much pressure are we putting on the cartilages on the knees? Just because there's nobody on their back, they're still going to be pounding away on hard ground, and so you really want to consider that. So maybe if you're jogging, it'd be best to have the mule jogging in softer dirt and this sort of thing, because there's no real rhyme or reason when it comes down to too hard a ground, too soft a ground when it comes to cartilage, because the mule could stumble. Lots of different things can happen, but there's nothing wrong with walking them to start with, start building up muscles and tendons, and then going from walking to a little bit of a jog, a little bit of a trot, but don't do a lot of it. Do a few minutes of it and build up over time, just like with anything else when you're building a foundation. But sure, I would give it a try, but just keep watching them, feel their knees, always feel their legs, feel for heat in the hooves, feel for the tendons, make sure the tendons are all good and snug all the way down. Tendons are like a tire on a car. And when I'm preparing to ride my mules, as I'm combing them down and I'm picking up the feet, I run my hand down their tendon, and I want to feel that tendon being, for lack of a better word, firm all the way down. So looking at the bone of the mule right here, and then the tendon coming down, as I run my hand down that tendon, I want to feel from the top to the bottom that tendon to be firm. If I feel any puffiness at all, I've got a chance of having a problem with my tendon. So I can have it's called a bow tendon. So upper bow, middle bow, and lower bow. So if you're in your tendons, you want to feel them every day. You want to make sure they're doing good. During your rides, after your rides, it wouldn't hurt.
For folks who are watching, just tuning in, Steve is coming to us from Ontario, Canada today, and he's got Starlink, which is a satellite internet. And so we've got a little bit of a glitch that happens every 4 minutes or so. We're doing our best to get around it there, but hopefully that gave you the bulk of your answer there, Cassia, about the jogging. And then if you have any follow-up questions, go ahead and put them in here, because Steve's answer was just right there towards the end. We got something that we want to get to. Steve's got an introduction, but before we do, I want to say hello to Dave O'Brien watching from East Texas. It's 98 and hot, 98 degrees. Were you in that boy band, Dave O'Brien? 98 degrees back in the late 90s, 98 and hot. Was that you? Eric is watching from New Mexico. Judy and Misty are traveling to Indiana and tuning in. David Pengelly. Hot but beautiful day here in Manchester, Georgia. Great to hear you guys again. John in central Utah is watching where it's 102. Daryl is watching from Lantana, Texas. It's 99 degrees and warm and sunny. And we've got McGee watching 24 degrees Celsius, overcast in Ontario, Canada. Hey, there we go. Right around there, working on our next steps and building that foundation. Speaking of building that foundation, Steve, why don't you set the foundation for the second half of the program here? Talk to us. Talk to us.
Well, I'm always sharing with you why mess with a trainer? Why listen to a bunch of other people? Why not do it yourself? Okay. And with a little guidance, and I'm saying a little guidance, you can put forth the effort and do a good job of riding or even training or even driving or even packing. People think they have to take their mules to someone to be trained. Well, that isn't always the case. Sometimes you get some pretty poor training. Some people think that they can buy a mule that's been there, done that, and the only thing they have to do is sit on it, and that's not true. So even if you have a been there, done that mule that's well trained, you're not able to ride it. It makes the mule look bad, but most of all, people say, well, maybe he wasn't even trained. And my perfect example is this. I would go to clinics and I would ride one of my mules. And everybody would see that mule side pass, turn on the forehand, jump in the trailer, pick up all 4 feet, stand still and quiet, get on and off. They would see that mule do everything. Well, then I would say to the audience, and everybody just saw it, who can ride here? Who's been riding for 20 years? Hands fly up everywhere. I choose someone, they climb on the mule, and I ask them to do different things. And in a short time, the mule looked like it wasn't even trained. Yes, it was a trained mule. Yes, everybody just saw it. So where was the problem? The problem was you, okay? And so when it comes down to it, you may have the best trained mule in the world and pay the price for it. But if you don't have the ability, then you're not going to get anywhere. And so I have with me today an extraordinary guy that just has amazed me since I've known him now for the past 3 years?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years now. Okay, so we're gonna kind of get to where we kind of get over here. There we go. There. Yeah. Now we are talking to the genuine man that can teach you how to get you in the air, and he flies helicopters. He flies World War II planes. What else? So you flew for American Airlines.
Yeah.
And plus that, he not only can fly these airplanes, he can teach you how to fly the airplanes. And if you want to be certified, he can also certify you. Now, this guy he's built airplanes from the ground up. I've seen pictures of him building complete frames and everything, rebuilding motors. He is Mr. Fly in the air type person. Now, which amazes me because his heart's desire was to own a mule. Now, here's a guy that does things way out of the ordinary. I mean, completely out of the ordinary. And yet, his heart's desire is to be a mule. I mean, to ride a mule and to have a mule. And he calls me up one day and says, I just got bucked off. I don't remember all the stories that we've gone through. So he wanted to buy my saddle and stuff. So one of the first things I told him to do was, heck, Clay, I hadn't even introduced you. Clay Williams, by golly. Dale Williams, Clay. Williamson. Dale Williams. Yeah. Williamson. Dale Williamson. I'll get it right yet. Dale Williamson. And Dale has just amazed me with not only his airplane stuff, but now being able to do what he can do with his mules. His first mule bucked him off, got to be a mess. I kept telling him to go to a chiropractor, go to a veterinarian, and find out why this mule is bucking. I told him that I thought the scapula was the problem and that it was damaged. and that was damaged by horse saddles banging away on that. So, Dale, I'm just going to let you just kind of fly away off a little bit here. Tell us about your mule,
Sure.
how you got into mules, things like that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I tell you, I all I've ever done is fly ever since I was, a kid, and I was getting toward the end of my career, and we had a company we started after, when things went, started going down with the airline business. We thought we needed to do something different, so we started a little helicopter company, and we were trained text DPS. And one of the troopers that we trained was a mule man, and I had never had the opportunity to ride anything. I always loved the outdoors, and we got to talking about what he did with his mules, and it just sounded awesome. And the more we got to know him and got to train, his name's Ray Reagan. He's no longer with us, unfortunately, but he got me he's the one that actually got me interested in mules and all the things and why they were special. And so I ended up, another trooper found the first mule that I had, and he didn't turn out so good. And I was completely ignorant. I can tell you with 100% accuracy that I've made every mistake you could make when I got interested in getting a mule and how I went about it. And the first mistake I made was just having somebody say, "Yeah, this looks like a good one. Just go buy that one." And I said, "Well, hey, looks great," and he did. He was beautiful, but he was damaged, and I didn't know it. And being stubborn and ignorant, I fought it as long as I could. Had him throw me 3 times. Miracle, I didn't get killed. And Steve was just unbelievable. I was fortunate enough to get in touch with Steve, and he guided me through that process, and I found a good vet. He diagnosed the problem as exactly what Steve had predicted that it was, and he was never going to make a saddle mule. So I gave him to Danny Hutto out in Eastland, Texas, and he made a driving mule out of him. And so I was looking for another mule, and my wife said, no, I'm going to have to look for a nursing home for you. Well, being not going to give up, and I'm so happy I didn't. Steve put me in touch with Jimmy Stewart and his cousin, Jimmy Williams, who trained the mule that I ended up buying. And I went out and exactly as Steve said, he said, if Jimmy finds you a good mule, he'll be a good mule. And Jimmy, his cousin, Bubba, was selling a mule that Jimmy said he thought he'd never sell. And he was about 7 years old. It was a perfect mule for me, and he had the perfect disposition. And it has been a life-changing experience. And Steve has been so instrumental in that. And all to think that I could possibly, get a mule that was going to be, I didn't have to worry about, and that I could actually train. And my biggest thing was to try to maintain where he was, because he was a well-trained mule, but and he was everything was demonstrated to me, and both Bubba and Jimmy said, look, just take him for a month and we'll hold you to check, and if it doesn't work out for any reason, just bring him back. Well, 2 weeks. So I said, cash and check, he ain't coming back, because he was so tolerant, and it was just, I learned everything that I know about riding from Steve and Copper, my mule. And I've done, like I say, I've made every mistake you could make, and managed to stay on him, other than a couple of small things where I just had to bail. But one of them was in the Buffalo River a few weeks ago, just being stupid and not hanging on. He just swam out with me. But anyway, it's an unbelievable experience, and it is so. I try to put at least 10 to 20 miles a week on my mule, and he's just only gotten better and better and better. And when the one of the things that Jimmy told me when he got ready to drive him home, he says, now, he said, he's got to learn your cues, and which I didn't have any cues because I didn't know how to ride. And I just climbed on him and started riding, which is really probably not a good idea, but the stable that I was at was horse people. And everything about it was different, and everything they told me really fit for a mule, and it didn't really work for me. So Fortunately, with Steve's guidance, I got to the point where I was toddling along a little bit, and it from there. And now I feel fairly accomplished. It's been 5 years, and I've been to some real challenging places riding, and saw what he's capable of, and it's been nothing short of amazing. And every time I take him somewhere really challenging, it's just amazing how well he does. And and he gets all the credit. I don't. And Steve for kind of giving me the guidance I needed in the confidence to really do actually improve him. And now I'm learning to shoe him, and I never thought I'd ever be able to do that. But I had trouble finding a farrier that could do the job that I wanted, and now the last time around, it came out really good. And so with the help of David Riggs, another former farrier, horseshoer, mule shoer, who's been with Texas DPS for years and years, he's helped me quite a bit. And Steve's been his training video on how to shoe your horse and mule is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And with everything he's saying, that's exactly what you want to do, and it's worked fabulously. So found out Steve's a master walleye fisherman too, and that's something to be. Yeah, fished all of us. That was it yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. I'm also a master walleye eater.
Yeah,
I could pack that. I could pack that walleye away.
oh yeah.
So here's the thing I want to get across, Dave, to everybody. I tell you time and time again, do it yourself. Okay. Did you get any riding lessons?
No,
No,
I didn't. And I that probably would have been helpful. I got a little bit of guidance here and there from people I would trust, but unfortunately, doing what I wanted to do was trail ride and have him take me places that I can't walk to anymore. And honestly, that's one of the primary reasons to get a mule and to go out and be able to hunt and fish and trail ride and get out in the woods and places that you can get to only on a mule. And it's made all that possible. And so anybody's thinking about doing it themselves, if I can do it, I guarantee you can do it. Because I'm a product of the Louisiana public school system. So it's not my fault.
So when you went to see the mule, then Jimmy started working with you and showing you different things then.
He did. He actually videoed him, backing him up, forward, side passing, turning the nose, turning the hip, riding in figure eight, having him change leads and that kind of thing. And I was nodding my head like, oh yeah, I understand. And no. And Steve and other people I've talked to that were knowledgeable, certainly nobody to Steve's level, said you've got to show leadership. And I'm golly, I was an Army instructor pilot and airline captain, owned a company, worked a lot of people, thought I was a leader. Oh no, it's it's the same word with a whole nother meaning. And until you learn to speak mule a little bit, it ain't going to work for you. And it's a slow process that I'm still working on, to have the patience to not get in a hurry and try to force that animal to do something that he's not quite comfortable with. But yet you think, well, he ought to go. He shouldn't be stopping on the trail. And something's coming down the trail, and he stops and looked, and I'd say, let's go. And people on horseback, what's wrong? Why'd he stop? So I don't know. He just didn't want to go. Well, after a few minutes, something would come down the trail. It'd be dog or runner or bike or something. He's right 100%. And I just was too stupid to understand how he thought. But as I got more savvy, it became much, much easier to read him. And it's exactly what Steve told me, but I'm just slow on the pickup.
Well, and you got to be doing it too. But the one example of you try to get the mule to go forward, and that she was telling me, and then all of a sudden he went down to his knees in that mud hole.
Oh yeah. That's a pretty good little story. I'd come back from Caney Mountain Horse Camp. It's an awesome place to ride. It's a wonderland for mules. And I came back and I was riding a trail, Lake Grapevine, And so I was bored, and I took him off trail down. And
So we got a little glitch. We'll wait for it to clear up. Steve's coming to us from Canada, and they've got satellite internet, and so it's amazing that we've got them at all today. Thought we were going to have to do
yeah,
thought we were going to have
well,
to
I
do a
think
recording, and but we've got the internet. Okay, there they are, right back there. Go ahead and pick right
yeah,
back up there, Dale.
yeah. I rode him down the water, and he stopped, and I said, "Let's get a little closer." So, he just turned around and looked at me and didn't move, and I said, "Well, let's go. Let's go forward." Yeah, I gave him a little nudge, and now it's a test of wheels. So I on the third after the third look from him, like, "You idiot, you're getting ready to do something stupid," but I didn't know how to read that. I spur him up, and he takes 2 steps and went right down to his armpits in the mud on all four wheels. And so he looked at me again and said, "You fool! I tried to tell you 3 times, you wouldn't listen." And so I got off of him, which is a short step into the mud, and he gets up and looks at me like, "Man, what is wrong with you?" So I learned a valuable lesson. If he really doesn't want to do something, not that you want to let him make decisions. Sometimes he's making the right decision. You're trying to force him into something he doesn't want to do. So what happens now, because I'm a little smarter, or a little wiser, I just think about it a little more and say, why is he having a problem with this? And give him a little bit of time to think about it. And if it's something that he really should be doing, he'll go with it. It's pretty remarkable, really.
Yeah. Self-preservation for the mule is pretty incredible. See,
Yeah.
folks, as he was talking, he wasn't so much using a vocabulary, he was using his legs, because his legs was asking the mule to go forward, and the mule was hunching back, had a problem, So that's, if you're using the proper command, like legs to go forward, and he's hesitating, maybe you better stop and listen a little bit.
Give it a second for it to come back up in here.
I've done all the places that I've gone and stuff, I still will make mistakes and not completely listen to the mule, and then pay the price later, which happens a lot. But the big thing, again, I want to tell you, folks, is that he has taken the time to watch videos, to watch his mule do things. He had him in surf singles and things like this, which is really important. I keep telling you all, and I've got an up-and-coming webinar about it, about how important surf singles are, and this sort of thing. But he kept trying different things, and instead of just climbing on and riding. And so he'd watch the videos, talk to me, and talk to some other people, and then made the decision. So the big thing I want to point out to is, just like with him, if you all the important thing is not to ride. The important thing is to spend some time on the ground and asking people questions and watching things, and then try it a little bit at a time.
You bet.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is working on your patience, because like I was always told, most mules, the problem is not the mule, it's the owner, and I was the problem, and I had to learn a little bit more about how to handle the animal and handle myself, and it's remarkable. It's kind of like flying or any other skill that you start to master. You look around, you start training people, and you watch them make the mistakes, that everybody made, including yourself. And Steve, he looks at a guy like me, and he knows what mistakes I'm going to make before I even start, just from where I'm starting from. But you got some of this stuff you got to kind of figure out on your own. But I certainly wouldn't be afraid to try. And I've got, there's so many more things I want to do as I move into full retirement very shortly. Spend way more time on my mule. I'd really want to get another one. I got to get that by the War Department at home, but I'm working on it. So,
there you go.
But it's been an unbelievably fabulous experience for me, and there's help out there, and Steve here is the man to help you with any problems you got. He's been there and done that, and he's seen it, and he's seen what works and what doesn't, and everything he's told me has come to pass. And so, in the TAC, it's remarkable how, golly, didn't have any frame of reference on anything. But he said, yeah, it'll take 40 or 50 rides or maybe longer for it to break in completely. But that saddle, I've sat in that saddle for 8 hours a day for a week straight on trips, and just, golly, I'm 66 years old and started this all way too late. I wish I'd started 20 years ago, but I'm trying to catch up. And so, but everything he says come to pass. So he's got some unbelievably good information and guidance that you just can't get very, very easily. There's a lot of, everybody's got an opinion out there, but usually you can watch what works, and what he teaches and preaches works for me. And so he's helped me every time I've needed help. Boy, it came right up. So appreciate that.
You
so
betcha.
I got him up here, seeing if he can catch some fish, and he outfishing me. So I can't show him anything there. Maybe I have to get him in a helicopter. I don't know.
There you go. So Dave,
matter of fact, do that next month.
There you go. Does anybody have any questions, or is anybody talking in there and got a question or anything like
no,
that?
Just folks have been listening. We do have a question. It's not related. David Scholl, though, chimed in, took us international again. Somebody must have messaged him and said that we were saying things about him, because he popped in. He says, "Good day from Australia." Joe hopped in and was just listening. And then Bigfoot is getting in. Utah, 93, looking to sell llamas and getting into the mule business to go further into the backcountry. So that's what Bigfoot's doing these days. Pat is watching. And then, hey, folks, if you do have any questions or any comments, or if Dale's story, if there's aspects of it that sound similar to your story and you'd like to hear from him, or what maybe Steve said to him that helped him turn that confidence corner a little bit, go ahead and share that there. Steve, is there anything that you want to just follow up on what Dale shared, or any follow-up questions that you have for Dale, that maybe we haven't heard yet, while folks take a second here to share if they have any follow-up questions?
Yeah, well, I do want to, I'll probably video Dale on a couple different things, but the point I want to get across to your folks is Dale is you. He's the majority of you. He's you. You're you. He's been where you are. He's done a lot of things you've done, but some of you have been on horseback. Okay. And so Dale was a complete clean slate. It made it easier for in a lot of ways. And the other thing too is, I know you all are going to say, now wait a minute, Steve, you told us that you don't help anybody get mules, da 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 da. Okay. And basically you're right. I try to stay away from you going to Joe Blow to buy a mule, because the majority of the time I don't know Joe Blow, and I don't know you as a writer. I didn't know Dale as a writer. Okay. But what I did know of a couple mules, which is rare to find. I mean, rare as hen's teeth to find. I did know of a couple mules, and I put them into place I put Dale into place with these two guys. Now, these guys are not mule sellers. They're not horse traders. They're not trainers. They're everyday people. Matter of fact, the guy he bought the mule from was the police chief in this particular town, a police chief. Okay. So not a horse trainer, not a seller. And then his nephew, or not nephew, cousin, Jimmy, again, he's not a trainer. He's a natural ability to it. And the same thing with Bubba, Jimmy, they were naturals. And when I rode with them and when I was with them, I was impressed. Okay. And I got to tell you, I'm not to toot my own whistle, but I don't get impressed by too many people who tell me how good they are. All right. So I felt very good about Jimmy saying, okay, send him my way. And you heard him say that if he doesn't like that mule in a month, send him back. He won't cash the check. they're not sellers. They're not people that want to make a living that way. They want a happy mule and a happy mule rider. And it happened to be that's the way this ran right now. And I would love to find a mule for all of you, but I can't do it. Those mules are extremely rare to find. And it's not a matter of color, it's a matter of disposition. It's not a matter of training, it's disposition. As I talk to Dale on the phone, I've talked to a lot of people all over the world, folks. I hear your demeanor. I hear what you're saying. And then when I see you in person, that also tells me a lot. So I was very comfortable at sending Dale toward these guys. They would have said, no, Dale, this mule ain't going to fit you. They would have, right off the bat, would have shut Dale down if they even had an inkling to that he wasn't going to work out with this mule. So that all worked out to Dale's happiness, you know.
Absolutely.
And
it couldn't have been a better choice for me at my stage, which was stage 0,
yeah,
as far as ownership or riding or anything.
yeah.
It was a remarkable experience. And Bubba and Jimmy were just, I couldn't, they were immediate friends, and golly, they were just awesome.
Yeah.
So,
and that's it, folks. That's what I'm saying to you. There's a lot of mules out there for sale. A lot of people who sell mules make a living. And if I don't know them, I'm not going to send them that way, folks. So don't call me looking for a mule. I know hundreds of you do it all the time, but I can't help you. So anyway, the thing about this deal is that what I want you to see is that he had a heart for it, but he asked questions and stayed with it. Okay. And watched videos and stayed with it and tried things and stayed with it. And now in result, he's got a love affair with a long pair of legs, that ears, I should say. Yeah. And his demeanor is natural mule man. I mean, this guy has got a love for mules. He's got a natural love for mules. And when you got that kind of love affair with mules, you can't go wrong. So there we are, Dave. We're having a good time up here in Canada, and I'll be back home Friday.
Awesome. Very good. Let's see here real quick. I have one more question. Do you have time for one more question, Steve?
Sure.
All right. This comes from Liz down in Sydney, Australia. Woo! International. New member, she says. I have a 3-year-old Molly mule, my very first mule experience. She was a surprise to us. Looking forward to learning more from you guys. She is broken in, super sweet and intelligent, but very independent and getting seemingly bored and naughty. Next clinic on tune-ups sounds great. Do they grow till age 7? And is it best to stick to groundwork and driving before buying a saddle for her when she's not fully grown, or get her out riding now? I have also made contact with David in Queensland. So there you go. There's our last question. Any comments there, Steve?
Well, I'm not one for dry driving as part of riding. I am one for dry driving as part of driving. The problem with long lines is you can overpull on a mule. So surcingle work is extremely important. When it comes down to age, when to ride, that riding time frame is going to be when they're physically ready. Yes, they grow and their mentality and this sort of thing all the way to 7 years old. But when their knees are closed, it's okay to get some short rides in, but you want their knees to be closed. So that's really important. David Scholl can help you out a lot. He's come to Arizona, him and Di, and has spent time with me. They've been through training programs and this sort of thing, and have a very good working knowledge of mules. And you can see that just in the colts and stuff that he has and how he's better. But he's the mule man of Australia, that's for sure. I'm looking forward to maybe him giving me another invite and coming to Australia. I got a pilot here, so I'm sure we can get a flight over there. How about that? Anyway, thanks a lot, folks, for listening to us. The big thing I want to get across is like Dale. He is you all. He's the example of you all have a love for the outdoors, love to go riding, love spending time with other animals. He's experienced some unique things. He's been in airplane crashes. He's got himself hurt, but still loves airplanes. Okay. He's been hurt on the mules, but still loves mules. So he is the epitome of each one of you all. That's what I want to get across. Try things, be careful, go slow. Like Dale was saying, be the herd leader, Dale, you got anything else to add, buddy? I appreciate you.
No, just anybody that wants to get in touch with you, I'll get my information out there. I'll tell you anything that I can tell you. It'll be the same thing Steve's going to tell you, but it's I'll tell you my experiences and what I've seen.
Yeah.
I have to yell at my buddy Daryl Bruns out there watching, I know, and he's down in Lantana there. He's got a real fine mule. We've had some good rides already. So.
Good. Yeah, and we're not going to give you the information of where he got this mule. I don't want you calling these Jimmies up and say, "Hey, I want a mule like that," because you know what?
Yeah.
A mule like that doesn't exist right around the corner.
No, they're hard to find for sure.
Yeah, I've been on thousands of them over the years, and I can tell you, I've had people tell me they've got a well-broke mule, and I said I'd love to ride that mule because I've never seen one yet. Okay. I've never seen it. Yeah, even my wife's mule is 3-time world champion, Arizona State champion, and everything from grandkids to blind man. And I still wouldn't call her a well-trained mule with a good foundation. So it's a lifetime, and you're always going to be learning. Be prepared to learn. The important thing is not riding. The important thing is to be a herd leader and get in there and be a herd leader and enjoy the ride, enjoy the time.
Yeah, it's the journey. It really is.
Yep, it's the journey.
That's the enjoyable part, the riding's part of it. But
yeah,
getting that
folks,
animal.
we don't want you aiming recklessly or going aimlessly through the journey. We want to give you some instruction. We want to give you some direction, just like you used to rely on the map, then we're relying on the GPS. Now you're relying on your cell phone when you're driving cross country. We want to give you that same type of map so that you have something to rely on when you go out there and begin training. And so in the comment section, I just put a link for our next clinic. Our next clinic is all about that tune-up that you've been wanting to do. You're concerned about, hey, I haven't ridden for a little while, or you're concerned, hey, I had him trained and now he's not listening, or he's doing things that I didn't train him to do. You're concerned he's stiffening up on me. He's not being willing. Well, we've got the tune-up that you're looking for, and that's going to be happening here in a couple weeks. I put a link in the comment section for the tune-up webinar. It's free. It's going to be a lot of fun, and more importantly, it's going to be very influential in what your experience owning a mule or donkey is going to look like this fall. So go ahead, get signed up. Again, it's free, and if you can't make it live, which we hope you can, but if you can't, we're going to send out a link afterwards where you can watch the replay and get that information. Steve, have a great time up there. You guys enjoy the fishing. I did some flossing. Folks will think I know what I'm talking about. I really don't. That's the only fishing I've really ever done, but I did some flossing in Alaska. I caught me 3 sockeye, and if I could go back and do it all over again, that's what I would do all over again. So y'all enjoy it. Enjoy the time. And Steve, we good?
Yeah, we're good, buddy. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you, Dave.
Take care, everybody. God bless. Bye-bye. Have a good one. Thank you so much, Dale. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. Take care.